New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment.
Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's Friday, February 20th, and it is time for the good news here on the New Thought Media Network. And I'm excited to bring you some interesting stories and some kind of surprising ones too. All right, let's get started with a Minnesota tow truck driver who returns abandoned vehicles to families after ICE arrests. Yes. It was only a few months ago that Juan Leon became the proud owner of Minnesota's newest tow truck service. Not long after, he began to get calls about abandoned vehicles and realized there was a pattern. Whether it was parked on the side of the street or in a lot of a business, their owners were just gone. In most, if not all cases, he would learn they had been arrested by ICE during its Operation Metro Storm. Whether one supports the efforts of the agency to deport illegal immigrants, it left behind a big footprint, a four-wheeled one, and Leon realized he had the opportunity to make a difference in his community. Working sometimes alone and sometimes at the request of family members, Leo's Towing has been returning suspect cars to their families at no cost for 4 months now. Seeing there was a need for someone to help out, help clear the streets, and get the people back their vehicles, so we stepped up and started doing it, Leon told CBS, which manages an affiliate in Minnesota. Working alongside observers, Leon has spent weeks arriving at the scene of an earlier arrest in order to bring the car back to any family or person or friends the person might have. Families reach out to us, Leon said, and if the family isn't reaching out, we'll find a way to get inside the vehicle and we'll bring it back to their house and put it in a safe spot. It costs hundreds of thousands of dollars to insure a working hydraulic vehicle like a tow truck, which is why towing costs so much. But Leon says he can take the hit because of money he receives through private donations coming from all over the country for his compassionate work, which he added has rapidly crowded out his previous schedule. Wow, good for you, Leon. That is marvelous work and so necessary after what has happened. All right, moving on to the next story. From 10% to 45% cardiac survival rates surge in Texas City that is empowering citizens to save lives. Over the past 2 years, the city of McKinney, Texas, has significantly improved cardiac arrest survival rates through a coordinated effort between its fire and police departments and now its citizens. 2 years ago, if your heart stopped in McKinney, your chances of survival were just 10%, the same as many U.S. cities. Today, that survival rate has skyrocketed to 47%. That is a big jump, thanks to an unprecedented partnership between the McKinney Fire Department and McKinney Police Department. Officials say the program is modeled in part after practices used in Seattle, and so far McKinney's success rate has risen way above the national average of 30% and closing in on Seattle's leading survival rate of 50%. The city, 30 miles north of Dallas, is now expanding that life-saving work to residents by placing automated external defibrillators directly into neighborhoods with the goal of reducing response time citywide. Wow, that is a brilliant, brilliant thing, because oftentimes the first sign of heart disease is death. But if you've got people who can work that defibrillator or do some compressions, we could save a life. Okay, one more story before our break. Brits travel to the town called Lover to send Valentine's Day cards from world's most romantic post office. How many times have you heard of romantic post offices? While other places go all out on decorations at Christmas and Halloween, one village called Lover pretty much owns Valentine's Day. Dubbed the world's most romantic village, it has drawn visitors from across the UK to send Valentine's Day cards with a special postmark. Thousands of cards are sent from Lover every February to recipients across the world, with the romantically stamped postmark reaching hearts on every continent, even Antarctica. Traveling all the way from Surrey to the Wiltshire hamlet, Lindy Knox stayed in town just long enough to purchase a postcard, have it stamped, and mail it to a loved one in Denmark. I saw it on Instagram and I couldn't make it last year, so said the 54-year-old. So I thought I would come here and send a card to my pen pal friend in Denmark. The fact that they celebrate Valentine's Day being called Lover is fantastic. Residents take the annual celebration very seriously, decorating their houses and businesses with red and pink hearts. The annual postal rush used to be run from the village post office, but it got so big that 10 years ago, residents formed the Lover Community Trust, and volunteers have helped send more than 10,000 love letters. Wow. Check out that postmark. That's pretty cool. I love it. On that note, let us take a short little break. You're watching And Now the Good News here on the New Thought Media Network, and we'll be back in just a minute. We're back. All right, our next story. Talk about the way things happen. A woman whose prosthetic leg swept out to sea is thrilled it's been found 10 months later. These prosthetics can be very expensive, so losing one would not be great. A woman whose new prosthetic leg was swept out to sea is over the moon after she found it 10 months later, it having been swept right back to the beach where she lost it. Last April, 69-year-old Brenda Ogden lost her custom-made titanium blade-style prosthesis moments before a swim in the North Sea. She was posing for a picture with a swimming group she was a part of when a huge wave knocked them down and took her titanium blade back out to sea with it. Ogden had her leg amputated below the knee 5 years earlier following a horrific car crash. The now retired nurse revealed she waited for over a year to get the false leg and had only had the blade for a week before the disaster on the beach. The leg was specially made to allow me to access water easily, Ogden told England's Southwest news source. I had never swum in the sea before that day, and it was on my bucket list to do so. The prosthesis had cost her over $2,000, and her swimming group rallied around their member to look for it. Yet a search on the sand that lasted the whole day yielded nothing, and Ogden returned home distraught. She had been an avid runner and began to warm to the idea of swimming as a way of restarting physical activity following the crash. I depend on the leg to be able to do water sports, she said, and added that she packed in that idea after the loss. 10 months later, 38-year-old Elizabeth Forbes was walking along a beach in Hornsey, East Yorkshire, looking for fossils. Something caught her eye, not a fossil, but maybe a gas cylinder, she thought. I saw an unusual looking strange shape from the corner of my eye when I was walking. I was curious about what it was, so I walked over, and there it was, trapped on top of some fallen rocks. She then posted a picture of her strange find on a Facebook group called Holderness Coast Fossils. where it was identified as Brenda Forbes originally left the leg where she found it, but returned around noon the next day, hoping to deliver it back to Brenda at some point in the near future. I have a feeling Brenda thought she might never see the leg again, so I was chuffed to have found it for her and to deliver it back. Ogden described herself as being over the moon after hearing it was found. Well, I'll bet, especially if you got to wait another year for another one. Holy moly. All righty. So this story, a passing angel rescues a woman and her 8 months pregnant from her sinking car. A woman some 8 months pregnant was a total stranger, has a total stranger to thank for her life and that of her baby. When she was driving down I-95 in Martin County, Shedley Apollon remembered feeling dizzy. It was her 29th birthday. She was probably in a good mood, but biology and fate had a wicked gift in store for her. The dizziness grew until she lost control of her car, which trundled off the highway and into a pond. Confused, she called her fiance and told her she was in the water, confusing him in turn. WPBF reports that the phone went dead at that moment, just when water began seeping in through the holes under the pedals and the car began to tilt forward into the brown water. I tried to open my driver's side door and my passenger door, but they were both submerged in water and I couldn't get out, she said. I started feeling water on my feet, so I started to panic a little. That's when a good Samaritan on the scene, Logan Hayes, stripped off his excess layers, took a running jump, and swam to the car to open the back door before it too became submerged. When he swung that door open, I was like, "You are an angel," Apollon said. It's almost impossible to open a car door whilst the car is sinking. The force needed to disperse the water is beyond what most humans can create with their arms or even their legs. The best chance to save your life, if you know for certain your car is going under the water, is open the door on the way in or roll down all the windows, which, like the door, can't be opened once they're taking on water. That's good information. If not, the only other chance is to smash the windows or hold your breath, and the pressure in the cabin equalizes with that of the water, at which point the door will open easily. That was proven on Discovery Channel's Mythbusters to be beyond the limit of most people's lung capacity. So you don't want to wait for that. Fortunately for Apollon, Hayes reached the doors before the water did and helped her to safety. Paramedics arrived and rushed her to the hospital, where it was determined the stress of her near-death experience called for an emergency C-section. Apollon's fiance arrived at the hospital after the birth of their daughter, Ivory, at 7 weeks early, weighing 3 pounds, 14 ounces. She described Ivory as her miracle baby, and it's easy to see why. He said he was just happy to be at the right place at the right time. I'll tell you, right place, right time. It's a good thing. All right. Well, here's a story of a pet sanctuary that takes in overflow from homeless shelter amid an unprecedented cold snap. A cat shelter in Green Bay has opened its doors to anyone seeking shelter from the Siberian temperatures pummeling the Midwest this week. Safe Haven Pet Sanctuary typically takes in felines in need of special assistance and care for blindness or other disabilities, but with warming shelters so crowded they're turning people away, management has decided to open its doors to humans as well. We are a safe haven for everyone who needs a place. It's getting cold out there. A cat will warm your heart and your lap too. Come on in and warm up. All are welcome. That's Joe Becker, the president of the board of directors of Safe Haven. A cold snap has brought extreme lows of minus 19 overnight, which would be minus 28 centigrade if anybody's from Canada. At that temperature, all it takes is a gust of wind to put unsheltered individuals at risk of hypothermia and death. Mr. Becker told Green Bay's Press Times that the founder of Safe Haven received word from a friend who worked in the city's social services department that the warming shelters for homeless residents were overcrowded and that employees were turning people away. The founder, Elizabeth Feldhausen, responded with a directive to tell anyone who couldn't get a spot in the shelters that they could come to Safe Haven to get out of the cold. A 501c3 Safe Haven relies on community support in more than one way, but a local pastor and her husband have redoubled their generosity by offering to stay overnight at the sanctuary in order to supervise the arrivals. She brings in people that she trusts, and we let them sleep on the couch last night, overnight, rather than out on the streets where the chances of freezing to death in those temperatures is not small. This is legitimately dangerous weather. The shelter is used to welcoming walk-ins and is typically open to anyone looking to relax or study. It offers couches and free Wi-Fi, available with just two conditions. You have to be nice to others, and you have to be nice to the cats. Purr. Yeah, I can't really purr, but you know what I mean. All right. An act of kindness sparked an unlikely friendship between a young man and a 91-year-old veteran. In a time when social media can feel filled with negativity, a genuine friendship in Santa Monica is reminding people how powerful kindness can be. David Heavens first met Frank, a 91-year-old U.S. Navy veteran, in 2023. Their lives couldn't have looked more different, but one small act of service brought them together. At the time, David was going through a difficult season. After losing his apartment to a squatter, he was homeless and living out of his car. Yet even with those, while facing those challenges, he still wanted to help others. He posted on a neighborhood app offering to volunteer 2 hours of his time to anyone in need around Santa Monica. Frank and his partner responded, asking if David could walk their dogs. That simple request turned into something much more. Raised by his grandmother, David said he has always had a soft spot for seniors. Before long, he wasn't just helping with the dogs, he had become a caregiver and a close friend. David is the most inspirational person I've ever run across in my 90 years, Frank said. He's just a wonderfully warm human being. In November 2025, David began sharing moments from their friendship online with a small audience of about 150 followers. Within 3 months, those stories had reached nearly 400,000 people. David believes part of that resonates with people is the deeper meaning behind their bond. Frank had marched for civil rights decades ago, and now David finds himself caring for him. It's just a full circle moment. He marched for somebody like me. My grandmother raised somebody like me to help somebody like him. We unconsciously created this positive movement just by being ourselves. Frank thinks people are drawn to their story because it offers a refreshing contrast to the tone of much of today's news. I find it incredible that people really want to hear about our story, noting that so much of what people hear every day can be so negative. And that's why we have, and now the good news, here on the New Thought Media Network. One more great news story for all of us to remind ourselves of the power of an act of kindness. Okay, Super Bowl. How a viral Super Bowl encounter made two Detroit Lions fans' dreams come true. A simple conversation at the Super Bowl turns into something unforgettable for two devoted Detroit Lions fans, and the heartwarming moment is now inspiring people far beyond the stadium. Daniel Brinker and his brother-in-law, Harry Schroeder, attended their first Super Bowl wearing Lions jerseys, even though their team wasn't playing. For them, it was about pride and loyalty. After we decided on Saturday that we were going, he went to his room to grab his Detroit Lions shirt and said, "We're going to represent Detroit." Their enthusiasm caught the attention of Catherine Hurley, a Lions fan, and girlfriend of former Bachelorette personality Jason Tarlick. Drawn in by their warmth, she struck up a conversation. Something about them was just very familiar to me with my family and how I grew up, Hurley said. So the second I was like, "Hi," and they were like, "Hello." Tarlick began recording what he thought was simply a sweet interaction. So Catherine's talking to them for a while, and From my vantage point, it's such a, kind, sweet, wholesome moment. I just have to report it, he says. As they talked, Tarek and Hurley learned more about Schroeder's story, including his ongoing battle with cancer and chemotherapy treatments. Moved by what they heard, they decided to share the moment online and encourage people to rally behind him. And we came up with the idea of why don't we put something on social media, tell this story, and get the people to rally behind the Detroit Lions doing something for Harry. The video quickly gained traction, drawing more than 1 million views and thousands of fans tagging the Lions in hopes the team would respond. For Schroeder, the Super Bowl trip itself was already a dream, one made possible by his brother-in-law's generosity. And so when he offered this up and put it on the table, it's like, I don't think I could accept a gift such as that, but he swayed me. Then the good Lord, he swayed me. Then came an even bigger surprise. The Detroit Lions saw the story and invited the two fans to the stadium for a private tour. During their visit, they were presented with jerseys, signed memorabilia from their favorite players, and even received a special message from Lions tight end Sam Laporta. Two lifelong fans, it was a dream come true, all sparked by a simple, wholesome encounter between strangers. Stories like this are a reminder that kindness has a way of spreading, sometimes reaching further than anyone expects. And I got to go to a Detroit Lions game just 2 months ago, and I got to say, great fans. It was a very fun game. Okay, well, continuing on here, meet Michael, the Publix cashier customers happily wait 40 minutes for. At a Publix in Ackworth, Georgia, shoppers aren't always looking for the shortest line. They're looking for Michael. Customers will gladly wait 30 to 40 minutes just to check out in Michael Masterangelo's line. According to his mom, Dana Paschal, they will come here specifically just to get in his line. It means everything. I'm so proud of him. Michael, who has an intellectual disability, has worked at the same Publix for 10 years. And in that decade, he's turned a regular checkout line into something much more. I like ringing people up and seeing people every day, Michael said. I'm just so happy to be here every day to work. As soon as some shoppers walk through the doors, they scan the lanes not for speed, but for a smile. As soon as I walk in the door, I look for it, one customer shared. And if he's here, it just changes everything. Store manager Courtney McGinnis says she can't train what Michael brings to the store each day. His positivity that he comes in with every day, it makes working and shopping here enjoyable. He's always smiling. He's always interacting. But Michael isn't just brightening people's days. He's also making a major impact. He has been part of Special Olympics since he was 7 or 8 years old, and this year he set a personal fundraising goal right at his register. Between scanning groceries and counting change, he invited customers to donate. Then he did something remarkable. I can't believe I did $31,603 by myself at my register, Michael says. My personal goal is crazy, and I did that in 6 days. In less than a week, he raised more than $31,000, more than some districts in the region, according to McGinnis. Customers weren't just giving money, they were showing up for him. He's my buddy, one shopper said. He is one of the few people I trust. McGinnis says what makes Michael special is simple and powerful. He genuinely cares. Him being so generous or genuine, he truly cares about every single person he comes in contact with. Whether it's a child, it's an adult, he genuinely cares about everyone. And that goes both ways. Customers attend his basketball games and cheer him on from the stands. For his mom, seeing the community rallying around her son is overwhelming in the best way. Oh, that's a beautiful story. I love that. We need to have more happy people working around us and, in the stores and stuff. I love getting really good cashiers, people who want to smile and chat. All right, well, here's a first grade teacher doing some amazing things for her kids. In Kelsey, Washington, a group of first graders got a surprise they'll never forget. Before winter break, students at Wallace Elementary School were given a simple art assignment: design a winter hat using colored stripes. They could pick any colors they wanted and even decide whether to include a puffball on top. What the children didn't know was that their drawings were about to become real. Teacher Ashley Lowry teamed up with her aunt, Amy Lefebvre, to turn the designs into actual wearable hats. After seeing a similar idea online, Lefebvre thought the middle of winter would be a great project and got to work sewing each one by hand. I did realize 22 hats was going to take as long as it did, but we managed. Some of them were very creative in their colors, and they all turned out very unique. The designs were as imaginative as you might expect from a room full of first graders. Rainbow patterns, repeating stripes, bold color combinations, and even one all-white hat with no puffball at all. The big reveal came after recess. Following a reading of the year of the book Extra Yarn, one by one, the children opened their desk and discovered hats that looked exactly like the ones they'd drawn. The reactions said it all: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. One student said proudly, explaining the choice: because those are my favorite colors in the world. Another student beamed while showing off an all-white hat. It's white because I like white and it's my favorite color. For Lowry, the project was about more than winter gear. Her goal as a teacher is to help students develop a love of learning, and moments like this make a lasting impact. Boy, do they ever. And now for our hero of the Well, this little cat showed up looking like a hairless cat. Last summer, a tiny kitten came running up a driveway in desperate need of help. Today, he's almost unrecognizable. Lucy, the cat's owner, recently shared the remarkable before and after photos of her rescue cat, Cosmo, and the transformation has stunned everyone who sees it. Cosmo first appeared at Lucy's home at the end of June last year. He was only about 8 or 9 weeks old and roughly weighed 2 pounds. He was also suffering from a severe case of ringworm, so severe that Lucy says their veterinarian had never seen anything like it. Cosmo has come such a long way. It still blows my mind looking back at these older pictures of him, Lucy shared. He came running up our driveway end of June of last year, 8 or 9 weeks old, 2 pounds, and the worst case of ringworm that the vet had ever seen. At first glance, Cosmo's condition was so extreme that he almost looked like a hairless breed, similar to a Sphynx cat. But that wasn't the case at all. Beneath the illness was a tuxedo cat waiting to shine. Helping Cosmo recover wasn't quick or easy. Lucy described the long process: 27 medicated baths, 7 weeks of oral treatment, lots and lots and lots of love later. You'd never know. Week by week, Cosmo regained his strength. His fur slowly grew back, his energy returned, and his personality began to shine through. Today, Cosmo looks like a completely different cat, healthy, happy, and full of life. It's hard to believe he's the same fragile kitten who showed up in such rough shape. And I just want to say, Lucy, you provided a safe space for a little cat in need. And that is a hero to me. And I'm hoping that anyone hearing this story might think about the next time they're considering a pet and they find one or see one that really needs some support, some love, and consider bringing it home. Well, that's the good news for this Friday, February the 20th. I'm so glad you could join tonight, and I look forward to seeing you again next week when we bring more good news. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and consider a donation to the New Thought Media Network, allowing this programming to continue in remarkable ways. You're the best. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.